is from Lucas, Finn, and Victoria. And then in addition, Victoria and Finn have made themselves available at no wages capacity, and so that time will be used very judiciously. But they have made themselves available, and I think that they have a good handle on how artist booking works. From what I understand, that's actually part of the job where the individual's personality matters way more than any tangible skill. And so I think in terms of training, I'm not necessarily too concerned about that being an issue. I think it's just like capacity building that will be important.
So, so the way it usually works is there's one person that kind of oversees everything, and then you have people that have already been doing this, but now we're just giving them a title. Is that what's happening? Like.
Yes. Well, yes and no. Effectively, concerts committee did not have. It had leadership, but it had no structure. So that's effectively what you described. So there was a concerts chair, and then everybody kind of did whatever. But that created a lot of disparities, so that you had like two people who were really good at sound and tech, and then when those two people had exams over for the weekend, we were fucked for a concert. And to kind of fix that issue, we're going to have the structural reform of like designating certain people as individuals who are either the best at that job or are able to identify and train people, so that no one individual is kind of burdened when someone has to tap out and take a week off. And so we've kind of formalized what existed as a pseudo-informal structure.
There's no further discussion on that point. We're going to move into a vote about the resolution to amend the term in the Constitution for the remainder of this semester. It passes. Awesome.
Thanks.
Oh, I don't like that. Okay. Word. Okay, the next thing is the motion to amend the Constitution to allow for split term cabinet positions. This is a 2/3 majority. There's a lot of links here. Who is bringing this forward? Oh, yes. Okay, BBAA elect.
Hello. So this is just like a continuation from last week. From last week's discussion with President-elect Lana. And yeah, we just wanted to bring the motion to amend the Constitution to allow for split cap positions, but also if anyone really has questions, I'm here. Sure.
Yeah, just have a question about like how the students who are abroad are going to be like paid, because from what I understand, like there would be like a significant time commitment. I don't know how significant, but like some level of time commitment to those positions while they're abroad. And I'm not sure if this is correct, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But from my understanding, you can't get paid for like studying abroad, right? So I'm just wondering how.
So this is something that just came up in terms of like our meetings with Ashley Adams recently. And we're still in the process. I don't want to speak on behalf of my fellow elects, but right now we're still in the process of figuring that out and trying to see like how logistically it can work out. But it's just something that we're still like working on. So yeah, sorry if it's like really unclear. Yeah, it's just like a big question mark.
I can build off that a little bit from the Treasurer's office. There is some like visa issues for students studying abroad, doing work while abroad. That means that the training would have to be a little more, the training becomes more important like after spring break. The training period, having both people coordinate and plan ahead, and then there's a little bit of time over winter break when work can be done on.
Also, kind of blind, so if you guys, oh, Tucker.
Yeah. I mean, I would actually like a clarification of where that concern is coming from particularly, because I haven't done any work as DOC since I stopped doing that position. That was kind of like, okay, if you could answer it.
So, I mean, I wasn't intending to answer it, I had a question, but I'll just talk from my position. So, because the BPSA elect Amelia is abroad, we cannot be in formal communication with each other, even though.
I thought this was about split position.
So even in a split position context, the person who's, like, say the fall position needed to be trained for the spring, they cannot communicate if they're abroad. And so this would be a problem. It's something that we've done in the past, but that now we've found out is not, it's actually whatever under the table, not allowed kind of thing. So you cannot train someone who's abroad, at least through like email conversations and like formal communication. That becomes a complication. They cannot get paid for the work they're doing while they're abroad. And then I guess the question that I want to ask is, or like I guess I want to frame it to the president of the context. But is it fair for the Senate to approve something if we're not clear that this can actually be, it's not a viable option? Because then if we do approve an amendment to make it so that split positions are constitutional, but then we find out from whoever the elects are in conversation with that they cannot get paid when they're abroad, we've essentially made something constitutional that isn't in the best interest of a student. And so I'm wondering, that's just the question.
Yeah, I'm gonna go, okay, Eric first, and then President Logan, and then Senator Houston, and then Senator Jones.
Will there be a response to that question before I?
Oh, and is yours like a different? Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
So I'm
I don't know.
Okay. Oh,
Yes.
does Virginia want to take this one? You can take it.
Response as well.
You can take it.
No, I just wanted to make a clarifying point that we have to be careful about being specific about what we're voting on. So even if a person couldn't get paid while they were abroad, that does not necessitate that a split term position could not be successful. So theoretically, we could vote to make split term positions constitutional, but please do that with the full knowledge that people literally like couldn't communicate. I think it's illegal if you communicate with the person who's on campus at any point in your study abroad. Yeah, just want to make that clarified note.
Also, an add-on, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't like during the break session is a good time for like cabinet like the transitioning cabinet member to get like the ample training, and then they can start like logging during break. So that's also one option that like we heard about. So we just wanted to just put it out there. And another point is that a lot of these positions are they cater to different like responsibilities, and that's something that we're taking into consideration. So like some positions might need more training in general and during the transitional phase, and we're gonna take that into consideration when even like electing picking the people that will be filling these spaces.
Okay, Senator Houston.
I feel like my question was answered.
Okay, Senator Jones.
First, kind of talked about already, but like paying over breaks, that's like confirmed something that we can do. Yeah. Okay. I just want to be certain of that.
Okay. And then, oh, yes, please, sorry.
I mean, so actually this isn't an issue that's new. If you read the 2019 statement from President Becker, you will know that this was an issue that came up and we just ignored it. So with regards to payment and how that works and that folks cannot be in communication, certainly as someone who was abroad and was appointed while abroad and came into the position, that was a role that I broke and communicated with. Services Coordinator. I have less of a question and more of a statement, primarily because I take issue a little bit with the process and how it's been handled, and the Senate has been bombarded with a lot of statements in favor of this. So I'd like to lay out a couple of points on why I think it's a bad idea and why the Senate shouldn't do it. I mean, first things first, on a procedural ground, I think it's been really rushed. What we've been calling discussions haven't been actual discussions, and I think that's pretty clear. And so I think it's valuable and important that the Senate stand up for its purpose as a reviewing body and as a body that approves it, and actually has a frank assessment on whether this is a good idea or not. When it comes to the actual substance of what has been presented, it's important to have experience in this job. I personally came in with not much experience, and that meant that I had to learn on the job for a good while, and it took me a while to get the hang of everything that I was doing. Luckily, I've been here for an entire year, which means I've had time to get good at my job, hopefully, at least I think so, and see through things that were important to me to see through. Sort of these mid-year switcheroos between people require a lot of very good communication, which doesn't seem to be happening, frankly. And even when it does happen, it seems impossible to do this well in very particular roles. Another point, a semester is really not that much time. I recall that previously someone mentioned that they had accomplished everything they wanted to accomplish in a semester. That's not good. That's bad. If we are setting our goals so low that all we're doing is hanging on for a semester, we're really not doing the jobs that we're expected to be doing. And we're not actually representing students. We're not presenting a vision of how these positions should evolve, what should change. We are in an environment where we basically have to call a committee to scratch our own ass before you even get anything done. So these things take a lot of time, and that means there has to be a lot of dedication to making it happen. And previous statements do bear out this point, where reforms and new software was delayed because we were switching positions. Another thing is, this is new. If you read President Becker's statement, you will learn that in the last 15 years, before this year, SGA has only appointed 3 split positions. That's 127 appointments, 124 were full year positions. So for those 15 years, clearly those students there knew something that we didn't. Or perhaps we do know, which is that this is a bad idea. It was never understood that we should be splitting these positions. And it wasn't regarded as in line with the Constitution. So what we're really being asked here to do, right, is technically a continuation of what happened last year. But my understanding of what happened last year is that there was a bit of a miscommunication, and I mean the execs on this can correct me. And a lot of people already, the options were set already. And they already appointed or were wanting to appoint folks having concluded the hiring process. And that's why the Senate decided that it was going to undertake this particular clause just for a year, so that it wouldn't have to happen again, and that we would discuss this and iron this out. And that hasn't happened, unfortunately, as we're back in this position. But the stability of these positions is really of paramount importance. We already have very high turnover. People leave after a year. That's bad, because that means it takes a really long time to get things done, and infrequently things don't get done at all. I don't think we should be making that turnover even higher by endorsing positions on a semesterly schedule. And sort of the final thing, because I know I've been ranting at you for a while, but I think it's important to get these points out just so everybody's thinking about these. Where does the logic take us? If we say, okay, well, services can be a split-term position, ACE can be a split-term, why can't the president be a split-term position? I mean, President Logan is doing an excellent job, but I recall that she ran against nobody. Maybe if we had a split-term presidential position, someone else would have ran. And maybe we would have had a competitive election. This is not to say anything against President Logan, but merely to point out that we have an electoral process that failed, perhaps because there was that yearly requirement. why should the treasurer be a 2-year position? I recall, and this, the execs can correct me if I'm wrong, that there was only one applicant last year, or at the very least, very few. And it seems to me that we don't need 2 years of training in order to do the job. Administrative coordinator Arvalani was thrust into the midst of that job. I know he didn't have a fun time, but he did it, and so it's okay. So maybe we could have split term positions for the treasurers. And maybe we could also have split terms for the VPs. You know, when you really look at it, the treasurer, ACE, and services are the most important jobs in SGA, at least in my mind. Because these are the positions that keep things running. If I don't do my job, student groups on this campus don't get funded. If the ACE chair doesn't do their job, there are no parties on campus anymore. The treasurer doesn't do the job, then we can't do our job either, which means this campus just dies. So why are we saying to ourselves that it's okay to split these positions, you know, ACE and services? And it would be ridiculous to try and split the presidential position. There is, you know, it might be the case that we will have somewhat less qualified candidates. But the final point that I will leave you with is being able to actually do the job is a qualification in and of itself. And I think we're forgetting about that. And I think it's worth appointing someone for a year who might not have been as fantastic as that person for one semester, but who can articulate a clear vision for the year, who can have stability in that position for a year, who students can know for an entire year, and who can also know their constituency for an entire year. And that isn't, again, very long at all. So, at least in my mind, having laid out all of those points and hopefully articulating some of the stuff that came in the materials that were put there, I would encourage everybody to actually not vote in favor of this. There's a very good reason why we should have positions for an entire year. SGA needs to become a bit more serious about how we view these roles. And so I hope you do that.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. In my mind, President Logan is first, but if it's not a direct response to this, I see a lot of direct responses, and I would like to.
I have a comment and direct response.
Okay, I'm gonna go you, and then I'm gonna say Senator Pedro Santa, and then, like, there's a long queue, guys, DOC, and then Quinn, and then Senator Blackstone.
Could I
and
potentially make a motion to limit discussion to a certain amount of time, or?
I will allow that.
Yes, in order, or?
I will allow that motion. Do you have a specific amount of time in mind?
10 minutes?
Okay, there's a motion on the table to limit this discussion for 10 minutes. And if we do not, like, reach a point where we can come to a vote, we won't vote today. Okay, is there, or, okay, I made that
Can I make a quick comment?
up. So yes, go for it.
So, the way we structured this, we wanted to, just bring the motion so we could start actually like sending out with the hiring process and like just to get more time for applications, like again to get like more applicants in general. So if you guys could like if it's possible to vote today, I urge it, but it's up to you guys at the end.
Okay, so,
Point of information
Yes,
for
please.
order. Limiting the discussion on the vote does not mean that we won't vote today.
Okay.
It just means that we're gonna limit our discussion on the vote, and we can always decide to extend that time if we feel like we need more time to talk.
yeah, I thank you, President Logan, for sure. Okay, so there's a motion on the table currently to just limit this discussion to 10 minutes. Is there a second on this motion? Okay, seconded. So we'll vote on this motion as it stands right now. it doesn't pass, we will discuss as long as we discuss. All right, so I am like game on. Let's go. Okay, so I'm gonna go. President, yeah, just all Lou I said before. President Logan, you heard it before.
So my comment isn't a direct response, it's a related response because I was going to come and say why I'm in favor of split positions being constitutional. At a very technical level about constitutions, I believe in them being super bare bones. I think that all of these comments about the training plan and the vision for the year and the capability to do the job, I think those are things that when the executives bring up their appointees, they tell us, okay, we have all full year positions because we are really prioritizing a year where we're looking long term. Frankly, in my role with training, after having a year with multiple split positions, that would be my advice. I think that it would be best for the next cabinet to have a lot of full-term positions. With that said, I do want to note that there were some really net pros from having split terms, from my opinion. One, it did allow us to select the best candidates for the job, and I agree, ACE, hugely important job, and I wasn't playing around with it being not done correctly this year. And we got some of the most incredible ACE chairs this year because we were able to select people who did have plans for their other semesters. And we can dispute it, but I think that it's been incredible the way that the ACE chairs have had the events done, have had the events planned, have had events happening regularly. So I think it was really important to be able to have the flexibility to get ACE kind of like really on track for a year because those were the best people for the job. One of the other net positives I found in split positions was like the mid-year energy switch up. Like it just required us to all come back and re-sit down with our job and think about, reflect on how are we going to work with each other, what's our dynamic, what are our goals, in a way that I didn't experience last year when I was on cabinet with it being more like a full-term year. So I just wanted to let you guys know that from my perspective, I did see net positive things about split positions, which is why I think that executives should always have the chance to give Senate their pitch about why this year's split positions are the right choice or a full term is the right choice. And then the Senate decides, we're going to approve this or we're going to ask you to bring us back different appointees. I also think that the services chair brought up some good points. But I'm of the opinion that those are the sorts of points that should be brought up in a conversation about the unique circumstances of the year and not written in stone for all circumstances always.
Okay, Senator Pedro-Santos.
So just for clarification, this is an amendment or whatever for split terms in a situation where nobody else has run and the only people running are for split office, or is this just like allowing split terms indefinite, like anybody can run at any point with a split term?
This is just to like give us the power to just actually like consider everyone in a way. Like it's just like there as like a possibility. Like we can like choose not to like we could choose not to get any split position cabinet members, or we can choose to. It's just